Listen up, all fight fans and fitness junkies. You've been listening to me talk about Jocko Fuel for a while now, and if you've been waiting, the wait is over. This August, you can score a massive 30% off on all of Jocko Fuel's top-tier supplements. That's right, 30% off. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all of the good stuff and none of the bad. We're talking no added sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. And guys, I really want you to try some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. This deal is only going to be available for the month of August. So use code CHAEL30 or go to JockoFuel.com. Don't wait. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Guys, click on the link below to make it happen. Stipe versus Jon Jones. How do you market that fight? What will go on with that? I got to tell you, everything was done right and nothing has changed. Everything was done right for Jon Jones to take a risk, move up to heavyweight, capture the belt, look impressive while doing it. Stipe had one boogeyman that was keeping him interested, and that was Francis Ngannou. So Francis leaves, you're more than likely to see Stipe potentially leave, but he had such focus, right? Because this part of the story is forgotten. But it's a wonderful story. Stipe did the same thing that Jon did. Jon puts the belt down, goes up to heavyweight before he will compete. Puts on size. He had a goal that he had stated on Instagram. I think it was an arbitrary number, but the number was 242 pounds. Jon didn't quite get there. I believe he weighed in at 236 and change. But that's pretty close. He had a goal, he got pretty close. Okay, great. Stipe did the same thing. Stipe had lost to Francis. Stipe had beaten Francis. One thing that was meaningfully different in the second fight was the scale. Stipe went from 248 to 233, and he realized, I'm not enough man. I need more size. My takedowns were getting stuffed tonight. I got them all in the last fight. The power that Francis had and my ability to take it, right? And Stipe's right. Size would have completely changed that. Would it change the outcome? That's between those two guys. But his ability to take a shot or his ability to have the horsepower to get takedowns, that really is very size-driven. That's the reason there's weight classes for boxing and there's weight classes for wrestling. They're so wildly important at what you're able to do. Stipe spotted Francis 30-some pounds. 32 pounds right out of the gate. Oh my gosh, it's a lot. So Stipe learned his lesson. I too am going to take a little time. I too, just like Jon Jones did, need to have more size for this division if I want to be champion. They had the exact same philosophy. And coming from two world champions, that's a pretty important philosophy that we all stand back and go, okay, right? Like if you had a Venn diagram and you were to look at it, weight matters. Both agree, both did the same thing, both come back together. Who should we fight? Put these two together. There's no Francis. Jon came up thinking of Francis. Stipe was in there thinking about Francis. Jon was not thinking about Stipe, and Stipe was not thinking about Jon. Like, everything comes together. That's the fight to make. But now more time has gone by. And I'm hearing that Stipe isn't in his prime. I'm hearing that Stipe is washed up. That's very tough language. But I'm just wondering how we got there. How did you get to that conclusion? Jon Jones took some time, put on some weight, went against Ciryl Gane, and looked the best that he's looked in years. So now Stipe took some time. He's put on some weight, but we're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt and seeing if he can look better than he's looked in years. I mean, what evidence would you have that Stipe has slowed down? Did you come to that conclusion the night that he lost to Francis? Because you should have. He looked pretty good that night. He looked small, but he looked pretty good that night. Oh, by the way, if you did come to that conclusion, how come you're not speaking up until now? It was your idea to do the fight. It was your encouragement to do the fight. I will just tell you for the numbers. When I put Jon and I put Stipe together, I can do more business, more engagement, more interactions with that matchup than any other matchup. I can't get off the ground with Stipe versus Tom. I can't get out of the batter's box with Jon versus Tom. I do fully expect those things to change, but for right now, making the biggest fight, haven't we done that? And Tom became Tom. As good as he was, Tom became Tom in November of last year at Madison Square Garden when he ran over Sergey Pavlich. It wasn't the winning of the interim championship. That was a byproduct. It was running over, decisively stomping out. The guy was getting compared to Ivan Drago. And when you come to Stipe, I'm wondering how you're getting to that conclusion. I mean, are you certain if Stipe fought Tom Aspinall, are you certain Tom beats him? Are you really positive of that? Have you seen enough of Tom on his back to come to that conclusion? Are you willing to tell me that you think Tom's boxing is better than Stipe's? Now, I get it, heavyweight. Better and effective are two different things. The power that Tom has, I'm seeing it, believe me. I'm a believer in Tom. I'm just wondering if you say that that's the fight in Stipe's past his prime, then if I put those two guys together, Tom and Stipe, you would be very confident that Tom is going to win. But I don't think you're going to bet Friday's paycheck on that. I don't think if your feet got put to the fire, I don't think that you're actually as confident as you're pretending to be. And what has changed? Just time? I mean, I get that it's difficult. But that's the same tune I had when it got talked about in March of last year. March of last year is when Stipe put out the artwork on social media that he was claiming he got from the UFC, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but it was to fight for himself to fight Jon Jones on International Fight Weekend, which is July of last year. For perspective, that was the night that Dricus du Plessis fought Robert Whittaker, just for perspective. So then that got the can kicked, and then got kicked again all the way till November, and it fell through, and here they are. But back then, I was singing the same tune. Back then, I told you, you got one guy who's fought one time in 3 years, and you got another guy who will have only fought once in 3 years. Oh, by the way, and lost. So I just don't know what's different. I don't know what's changed. However, I do think that that is the biggest fight. I do think that those guys' story will not be complete until they match up. And I'll also maintain for you, you're not positive that Tom would beat Stipe. Which, if he can't beat him, then obviously Stipe would be the right guy. But you still have an order of it, and it still goes to Stipe first, and then it falls to Tom. And I'm just wondering, from a marketing standpoint, what are they fighting about? And that isn't just me challenging this. They know it too. They both started this, well, I'm going to retire. Both of them. Jon Jones, who never meant it, never even considered it. Somebody had said it, and Jon jumped on board just to see if that, helped ticket sales. And frankly, it didn't. It hurts things. If one guy's on his way out, if both guys are on their way out, this is a retirement party, it's weird. And it doesn't work. But when you get desperate to answer the very question that I'm asking you, which is, how do you market it? What is this about? When you get desperate in that spot, you start reaching for straws. And for one of them, it is a retirement. For Stipe, it is. And if the one last thing that he will do with his last dying breath is defeat Jon Jones, if that's true, I want to hear it. I want to hear that. I understand that he thinks he can beat him. Stipe is not going to come out after all this time and dedication to put on that size for a match he doesn't feel that he can win. I do believe that. I just need to hear it. If this is something personal, if this is about a light heavyweight coming up, and make no mistake, the history books get rewritten if Jon wins. Jon and Stipe were the same time. They're the same era. Every day that Stipe was heavyweight champion, Jon existed. So if Jon can beat Stipe, then every single day of that heavyweight reign is bull. Mike Tyson is actually 2 years younger than Evander Holyfield. So every day that Mike was world champion, every single day that they came out and told us he was the best and he was number one, and Evander said, I can beat him. It wasn't a matter of two different eras or a guy out of his prime. Evander was older. He said, I can beat him. I am the rightful champion. We came through the amateurs. I went further. I have an Olympic medal. He didn't make the Olympic team. I was better then, and I'm better now. When he finally got his opportunity, he showed us there never should have been a day Mike Tyson was champion of the world. That's true. And that's hard. That's very hard stuff to hear. That's the truth. those history books, we were lied to and they should have been rewritten. That is what's on the line here. This isn't a matter of Stipe is no longer the champion. This will be evident proof that he never should have been. Those stakes are very high. That's the story that needs to be told.